r/AskReddit. What is your go to never fail joke? I went to the doctor's recently. He said, don't eat anything fatty. I said, what, like bacon and burgers? He said, no, fatty, don't eat anything. A woman is walking home with her 3 daughters Rose, Lily, and Cinder Block. Rose asks her mother, Mom, why did you name me Rose? To which her mother replies, well sweetie, when we were coming home from the hospital with you a rose fell on your head. Lily, curious now, asks her mother, Mom, why did you name me after a flower too? To which her mother replies, well sweetie, when we were coming home from the hospital with you a lily fell on your head. Cinder Block says to her mother, HGHGHDNBGH, DNBGH. 2 altar boys are fishing on a dock. One of the boys gets a bite and struggles to reel him in. When he finally gets the best of the fish, he snatches him up and proclaims to the other altar boy, look at this big some beach. The other altar boy says, you can't say that, you're an altar boy, to which he explains that's the name of the fish. Some beach. Row, well that is a big some beach. Let's go show it to the priest. The 2 boys run up to the priest yelling, priest, look at this big some beach we caught. Priest, you boys can't talk like that, you're altar boys. Altar boys, priest, that's the name of the fish. Some beach, priest, well that is a nice some beach. Let's go catch some more of those some beaches and show them to the cardinal. So the priest and the boys catch some more of those some beaches and carry them to show the cardinal. Cardinal, look at all these some beaches we caught. Cardinal, I should have you all excommunicated for language like that. Altar boys, well that's the name of the fish. Some beach. Cardinal, I never in my life have seen such a fine bunch of some beaches. Let's take them to the nuns and see if she'll cook up these some beaches. So the altar boys, the priest and the cardinal go see the nun. Nun, can you cook up these some beaches for us? Nun, I ain't cooking nothing if you boys are gonna talk like that. Altar boys, nun, that's the name of the fish. Some beach. Nun, well since you boys went through the trouble of catching all these some beaches, I reckon I could fry these some beaches up. That night the Pope is visiting town and sits down for supper with the altar boys, priest, cardinal, and nun. Altar boys, I can't believe we caught all these some beaches. Priest, these are the best some beaches I have ever ate. Cardinal, nun, you cooked these some beaches just right. Nun, I sure did. You boys gotta catch some more of these some beaches. The Pope looks around at everyone with a surprised look on his face. He cracks a grin and says, you all mother duckers are alright. I think the Rainforest Cafe takes the whole rainforest theme too far. This one time I was sitting there eating my chicken tenders and they bulldozed 40% of the restaurant. I searched a list of 10 puns to find one that made me laugh. No pun intended. To the person who stole my copy of Microsoft Office, I will find you. You have my word. A man had been drinking at a bar all night and pukes down the front of his shirt. Shit, I can't go home like this, my wife will kill me. The bartender sees this and says, put a $20 bill in your pocket, and when she sees the puke, tell her some drunk puked on you and gave you $20 for dry cleaning. So the guy goes home and his wife sees the puke on his shirt and asks what happened. To which he replies, a drunk guy puked on me and he gave me $20 to pay for dry cleaning. To which his wife says, okay, well then why do you have $40 in your hand? Because he also shit in my pants. Dad is listening to his daughter say her prayers before bedtime. She says, God bless mommy and God bless daddy and God bless grandma and goodbye grandpa. He asks her, why did you say that? I don't know. I just felt like saying it the next day. Grandpa drops dead. Row, thinks dad. That's an odd coincidence. A month later at bedtime, the daughter says, God bless mommy and daddy, and goodbye grandma. Sure enough, the next day grandma breathes her last earthly breath. The dad realizes this is more than a coincidence, but he is not sure what to do. He doesn't want to disturb his wife by telling her grandma and grandpa were her parents. Months go by and one night the man is listening to his daughter saying her prayers at bedtime. God bless mommy. She turns her head and looks straight at him, and goodbye daddy. What? Are you sure honey? She nods. The man's heart begins racing and he breaks out in a sweat. He is so upset. He can't sleep at all that night. The next day he goes off to work, but locks himself in his office. He takes the phone off the hook, cancels all his meetings and awaits the inevitable. He stays at work past 5 because he feels secure there. He watches the hours tick by. Finally it is midnight and Drenched in sweat, he realizes he has cheated death. He drives home drenched in sweat and with all his nerves frazzled. His wife is up and waiting for him. "Where the hell were you today?" He replies. "Don't shout. I've had an absolutely miserable day." His wife then says, "You had a miserable day? I'm the one who had a miserable day." First, the milkman drops dead on the steps. A man is getting a checkup. "Doctor, you have to stop masturbating." "Man, why?" "Doctor, because I'm trying to examine you." Whole thing done in thick fake accents. A Russian, a Frenchman, and an Englishman are in an art museum admiring a painting of Adam and Eve in the Gardens of Eden. The Englishman takes a look at the painting and says they look so calm. They must be British. The Frenchman responds, no, they're naked. So beautiful. They must be French. The Russian says they have no food, no shelter, nothing but an apple to eat, and they are being told this is paradise. They're clearly Russian. A cop pulls over a car with two priests. The cop makes his way up to the window and says, "We're looking for two child molesters." The priests look at each other for a moment and turn back to the cop. "We'll do it." An old religious woman goes to a pet store to buy a parrot. Everything is fine until she brings it home. It begins to swear uncontrollably. F this, F that, F you, and finally the lady can't stand it no more. She grabs the bird, shoves it in the freezer, and slams the door shut. Squawking, shrieking, pounding, and cursing come out of the freezer for a few moments and then it goes quiet. The woman is scared that she has hurt the bird and opens the freezer. The parrot walks calmly out and steps gently onto the woman's outstretched hand. He looks into the lady's eyes and says, "Ma'am, I am truly sorry if my language offended you and it will not recur. If I may ask, what did the chicken do?" A vacationing penguin is driving his car through Arizona when he notices that the oil pressure light is on. He gets out to look and sees oil dripping out of the motor. He drives to the nearest town and stops at the first gas station. After dropping the car off, the penguin goes for a walk around town. He sees an ice cream shop and, being a penguin in Arizona, decides that something cold would really hit the spot. He gets a big dish of ice cream and sits down to eat. Having no hands, he makes a real mess trying to eat with his flippers. After finishing his ice cream, he goes back to the gas station and asks the mechanic if he's found the problem. The mechanic looks up and says, "It looks like you blew a seal." No. The penguin replies, "It's just ice cream." A man walks into a bar. He goes up to the bartender and asks him if he likes to gamble. The bartender says, "Sure, I'll take a bet. What's your action?" The man offers a $50 bet that he can bite his own eyeball. The bartender, thinking it's easy money, accepts his bet and is shocked when the man removes his glass eye and bites down on it. Laughing, the man sees that the bartender is upset about losing his money, so he offers him a chance to win it back. Double or Nothing says, "I can bite my other eye." The bartender thinks it over. He knows he was just tricked out of $50, but he also knows that this man can't possibly have two glass eyes. So he pulls another $50 from the register and accepts the man's bet. The man promptly takes out his false teeth and gently closes them around his other eye. Now the bartender is visibly angry to have been had for $100, and the man's laughter isn't helping. Just before he throws him out of his bar, the man puts his hand up. "Real sorry about that, pal. I get people with that bit all the time, but you've been a good sport, so I'll give you another chance to win some cash. I've got $500 that says if you slide a shot glass down the bar top, I can run alongside of it and piss into the glass without missing a drop. This is kinda hard for me to do, though, so I think it's fair if you give me two chances at it." The bartender, eager to win his money back from the man, thinks to himself and realizes just how hard it would be for this man to piss into a shot glass while running at full speed, especially knowing he only has one eye to line up his shot. After a minute of deliberation, he willingly accepts the bet. The man drops his pants to his ankles, and when the bartender puts the shot glass down on the counter, shouts a resounding "Go," prompting the bartender to slide it along the bar top. The man chases after it, holding his dong at an angle to properly aim it. However, pissing while running at full speed isn't easy, so he only manages to get a couple of drops in the glass by the time it reaches the other end. Catching his breath, the man reminds the bartender he has a second try, and that the first was simply to get his bearings straight. Once again, he shouts, "Go," giving the bartender his cue to send the shot glass back down the bar. Once again, the man chases wildly after it, spraying piss all over the bar top, stools, floor, and even hitting some of the bottles of liquor behind the bar. However, not one drop of urine found its way into the shot glass. Head hanging low, he hands the bartender $500, to which the bartender gleefully accepted, jumping up and down in joy and cheering in victory at the cash he had just made. All of a sudden, a man in the back of the bar slams his fist hard against his table and screams "duck" at the top of his lungs. The bartender mutters aloud, "I wonder what his problem is," to which the man replies, "Oh, I just bet that guy $10,000 that I could piss all over your bar and you'd be so happy about it you jumped up and down with joy." A guy is in a doctor's office. His doctor is there with him. "I have 2 pieces of bad news," the doctor says. "What are they?" "Well, the first piece of news is that you have cancer." "What's the second piece of news?" he asks. "Well, the second piece of bad news is that you have Alzheimer's." The man laughs and says, "Well, at least I don't have cancer." 2 hobos were walking down the tracks. They encounter a mangy old dog sitting in the middle of the tracks, contorted into that weird position and licking his nuts. One hobo says wistfully, "Gee, I wish could do that." His companion replies, "Well, maybe you should start by petting him first." What do you get when you cross a mosquito with a mountain climber? Nothing. You can't cross a vector and a scalar. My dad asked me the other day, "Are you even listening to me?" Which is a really weird way to start a conversation if you ask me. Paddy and Mick worked together in St. John's and both were laid off, so they went to the unemployment office. When asked his occupation, Paddy answered, "Panty stitcher. I sew the elastic onto ladies' cotton panties and thongs." The clerk looked up panty stitcher on his computer and finding it classified as unskilled labor, he gave him $80 a week unemployment pay. Mick was next and when asked his occupation replied, "Diesel fitter." Since diesel fitter was a skilled job, the clerk gave Mick $160 a week. When Paddy found out, he was furious. He stormed back into the office to find out why his friend and co-worker was collecting double his pay. The clerk explained, "Panty stitchers are unskilled and diesel fitters are skilled labor." "What skill?" yelled Paddy. "I sew the elastic on the panties and the thongs." Mick puts them over his head and says, "Yep, diesel fitter." I arranged a threesome on the weekend. Had 2 no-shows, but I still had fun. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.